Well, there's less than a month to go before the midterm elections, but do you know where your candidates are? A number of high-profile office seekers are taking cover thanks to a parade of gaffes and gotchas that have been caught on camera.
I dabbled into witchcraft. I never joined a coven.
Wait a minute, you were a witch?
Yeah, she was.
I was a witch.
I mean, wait a minute.
That's exactly why.
How you used to be a witch?
Because I dabbled into witchcraft. I hung around people who were doing these things.
Having fun?
I'm not making this stuff up. I know what they told me they do.
Well, what did they do?
I mean, in one of my dates, my first date
Whoa, wait, I want to hear about this.
One of my first dates with the witch was on a satanic altar, and I didn't know it. And I mean, there's little blood there and stuff like that.
We have learned something very important since the days that I served in Vietnam.
I don't know how anyone of Hispanic heritage could be a Republican, okay? Do I need to say more?
You're his stalking horse, Fred Dick.
Say it, but where's
You're
the
his
proof?
stalking horse.
What's the evidence?
You're his bird dog.
You made the charge.
You send another goon to my daughter's house and
I'll
I'll take you out, buddy.
You're going to take me out?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Watch.
Now, it's worth noting not all of those candidates we just showed you have actually headed for the hills, but some notable politicians are pulling the plug on media access at a time when you'd think they'd want some face time. Joining us now with more is Alex Isenstadt, reporter for POLITICO. Thanks for being with us this morning. So first, Alex, can you tell us who some of these candidates are and why they are avoiding the media?
Well, the reason they're avoiding the media is in large part because of the clip you just referenced. We're living in a new age of politics, the YouTube age of politics, where anything you say can and will be used against you and will be played over and over and over again. And will be played on cable shows, will be played on shows like this one. It will be played throughout the internet and will get into newspapers and internet magazines and elsewhere. And so you look at candidates like Sharon Angle, who's running for Senate in Nevada, and someone like Rand Paul of Kentucky and Christine O'Donnell of Delaware. They're really running for the hills. They're not making themselves very accessible at all to news reporters, and so we're not seeing a lot of these candidates. What we're seeing of them is through their TV ads or through other very limited ways.
So is this a winning strategy, do you think? Is it possible to win with hiding out?
Well, we'll find out. You know, I think there are some ups and there are some downs to this strategy. The candidates who are going to make themselves most accessible over the next month are going to be the candidates that voters see more of, and that could make the difference in some of these races. But you have to remember that in some of these races, like in Kentucky, where Rand Paul is running against Attorney General Jack Conway, Paul believes that it's his best interest to sort of keep a lower profile because he has nothing to lose by being out there. He's already ahead in these polls. So a verbal miscue or a verbal slip-up could really set him back.
What do you think is the best way that these candidates can address these slip-ups when they happen? Should they face them head-on? Should they ignore them? What do you think? I know that they feel like they're being attacked and people are just waiting for them to mess up.
Well, and that's kind of really gets to the heart of the problem right there, which is that once you do have a verbal slip-up, you know, we've seen someone like Harry Reid, the Senate Majority Leader, he's had his fair share, and some others, and you know, someone like Christine O'Donnell, these sort of become the narrative, and it's very hard to set that narrative backwards once it's already going sort of in motion. We've seen Christine O'Donnell trying to take a stab at this week. She's got a new up saying that, quote, "I am not a witch, I'm you." We're going to see if that strategy works, but there's so much negative information out there flowing about Christine O'Donnell. It's hard to see how that reverses itself at this point with just under 4 weeks to go until the election.
What do you think is the reaction from the average voter? Do they say, well, where's my candidate, or are they just so busy and they don't pay attention and they are going to vote, you know, right toward the end, down to the wire like some people do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of voters, especially this year, are going to be voting with their pocketbooks. They're going to be voting for whichever party they typically vote for, and they're not necessarily going to hold it against some of these candidates because they don't decide to make themselves accessible. I think that in some of these cases where there have been high-profile verbal slip-ups or high-profile mistakes by these candidates, that could impact what voters feel about them, and so we'll see how that plays itself out. But I think that if you look at the whole mix of what voters are looking at this general election year, is that they're going to be looking at a whole wide range of issues. It's not just going to be this that's on the table for them, I don't think.
All right. Thank you very much. Alex Isenstadt from POLITICO. Thanks again for joining us this morning.